What's going on, everybody? It's your boy, the Lo-Fi Horror Guy. Welcome to another episode of the Lo-Fi Horror Guys growing on you live. Let me tell you, today we're going to have on the one and only Ghoulish Gary Pullin. Man, am I stoked. I cannot wait. Gary is absolutely just smashing it in the art community. Thank you, everybody, for joining here. It's going to be sweet.
Hello.
Ha ha! Gary!
How's it going?
What is going on, man? Thank you so much. Holy shit. This has been a long time coming.
Yes, it has. Yes,
man,
it has.
Oh, man. Well, let me say first and foremost, man, thank you for your time today. I appreciate you jumping on, and I'm so excited to be able to have you on, my man.
Hey, no, thanks for all the support. I really appreciate it, Eric. So I'm happy to rap with you anytime you want, man.
Oh yeah, awesome. So basically, if you haven't seen the show before, growing on you live, we have a couple of icebreakers at first, and then the remainder of the interview is all about you and your craft and interests. And I have one finale that I wrote just for you, my doggy. So if you're ready,
nice.
we're gonna start this bad boy.
Okay, that sounds good to me, man.
All right, so let me ask you first of all. So a little while back, we were talking about Hamilton in particular, and we started talking about This Ain't Hollywood.
Yeah.
A local pub. So if I were coming to Hamilton, today, and I said, Gary, you got to point me in a direction to a local pub that I have to stop by, or a bar or something like that, where would we go, my man?
Well, obviously, we'd probably just hang out at my house now because everything's pretty much closed.
God damn. Yeah, true.
But
well, let's say if it wasn't the pandemic currently.
Well, yeah, like when I first moved to Hamilton, I was excited because there are some really cool rock clubs here. There's This Ain't Hollywood, like you mentioned. I think they still might have. Well, see now the restrictions are back on, but for a while they had the patio open, and tons
are they
of
open
bands.
again?
I don't think so, but for a little while they had the patio open.
Okay.
But when they were up and running, I mean, they were the place to go. They are a legendary sort of punk rock bar. Teenage Head, all these bands like played there. Like everyone's played there. And so that would have been a place we could have gone to. The other place is called Doors Heavy Metal Taco Bar.
Oh,
so
shit.
It is exactly how it sounds. It's a heavy metal taco bar. You order tacos and watch or listen to heavy metal there. So it's a lot of fun. Hamilton definitely has a very strong rock and roll history, heavy metal or horror history as well. As you may have heard, Guillermo del Toro films a lot of stuff here. He has pretty much a permanent studio in and around the Toronto, Hamilton area.
Oh shit! No, I didn't. I didn't know that. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I knew the story with Vincent Price and filming his. Oh my God, the name's slipping me now. But
hilarious. The Hilarious House of Frightenstein. Everyone says the Hilarious House of Frankenstein, but it's Frightenstein. And that was a little tiny show filmed in Canada, that starred Vincent Price. So he would come up from the U.S. back in the 70s. He shot all of his scenes in 2 or 3 days. And that where Frightenstein is shot is literally like 5 minutes away from me. It's an abandoned studio. They're not doing anything with it now. It's on Main Street and it's just sort of sitting there. But, that's where CHCH Television was. And CHCH Television was a major channel in Ontario. And that's what Frightenstein premiered on at like 6 a.m.
Oh, shit.
And that kind of introduced me to Vincent Price. And then it also introduced me to all the Universal monsters because they were spoofing all those characters. Right. And then later on, I found out that one guy, Billy Van, played 10 characters on this show. You would never know it if you were a kid, but later on you can see him in the makeup now. But that blew my mind that this little tiny show came from Ontario. And it was a big inspiration for me, maybe on the artwork side of things, but certainly on the visual and creative side of things. It was like SCTV meets the Universal Monsters.
Sick.
And it was a cool little show. And it did air in the States, in the US. If people don't know, I am from Canada. They haven't figured it out by now. It did get down there. It did get seen. So that, it's kind of interesting that, there's a lot of horror history here in Hamilton.
Yeah. Okay. And I gotta give a shout out too. That's the first place that I've ever played. My band, we went through Hamilton. We played at This Ain't Hollywood, and then went to Rochester.
Oh,
But
cool.
man, Hamilton is such a cool spot, man. That was so awesome, and it's dear to my heart because that was the first spot I played in Canada. So shout out
Oh,
for
that's
sure.
great. Yeah, that's great. I mean, Hamilton, it's a very interesting city. It's a legendary city, but it's also, the North End is a little. You don't really want to live in the North End so much. It's gotten a lot better now, but
Mhm.
like 10 years ago, there was some rough neighborhoods, and
Okay.
yeah, it's kind of like Detroit. Like I
Oh,
love
okay.
it.
Damn.
It's very much like Detroit in many ways. It's a steel town. There's steel factories here.
Hmm.
Two of the major factories here that keep a lot of people employed in the city. And at one time, I mean, the city was, the city is sort of always growing, but it's kind of a gradual grow in terms of downtown. We live downtown, so
Sure.
we see a lot of action around here, which is never a dull moment.
Yeah.
But I love it. I love it. We feel safe here and all that, but it's definitely you get a lot of interesting things happen around our area because we live downtown. So,
Oh,
but
okay. Right, right.
going back to what you were saying about this ain't Hollywood and stuff, I was very excited when I was moving here that there was and Hexploitation Film Festival was running here for a while too, and so we got involved. I got involved with the podcast and my own personal Ghoulish stuff. We got
Hmm.
involved with them and sponsored them, and the community really sort of supports each other here. I find for the most part.
Okay, sweet, sweet. Now, fast forwarding a little bit here as far as, like your earlier art origins. I know, early on you getting your first utensils from your priests and drawing just stuff up and different things like that. Growing up, always loving villains and drawing those. But tell me about what was the first thing that you remember drawing that actually looked like the source material? You drew it down, you're like, oh shit, I love this. What was the first
Sure.
thing you remember drawing?
That's a good question, but honestly, it's the honest answer is that when I was really young, my grandfather was a painter. Sort of like he wasn't a professional working artist, but sort of a jack of all trades kind of guy. And he died before I was born. I didn't really get to know him, but there's a lot of stuff my dad kept of his. And so in the basement, my dad had tons of paintings that my grandfather did, and they were all more like landscapes, cottage scenes, kind of the Bob Ross kind of way of
Oh
painting in
shit.
a way. But they looked really cool, and they were really well done. He was obviously a talented artist.
Mhm.
So he had a bunch of charcoal drawings that I wanted to I wanted to try my hand at doing a charcoal drawing. So I set up a little still life of a plant and a couple of pieces of fruit, just like you would in art school. And I was really young,
Mhm.
and I drew it on a piece of cardboard. I didn't really have the proper stuff. I was probably maybe 9 or 10 at this point. I was sort of just getting into drawing was sort of actually becoming. I'd gotten the like I said, the family priest. We're not super religious, but my family priest at the time
Yeah.
knew that I liked to draw because my dad took us to church when we were very young, just because he felt it was probably the right thing to do, maybe. But
Yeah.
just probably because everyone else was going to church, and so the priest knew that I had an interest in art. So anyway, I used those tools that he gave me, those pencils and whatever else he gave me to do like this charcoal drawing, and that's when I looked at it and was like, you know what, that ain't half bad. And I remember my dad being really, like, my parents were like blown away. Like they were
Hmm.
more like, I was more or less like probably, just sort of like wishing I could have done better. You know what I mean? Like, or at
Yeah.
least, or maybe even like, but I do remember thinking, you know what, I think I like doing this. And I remember thinking,
Okay.
yeah, this feels good. Like this feels fun. And then after that, just just always drawing in my bedroom, and like growing up in the '80s, and just so much visual. Just there was so much
Overload. Yeah.
visual. Oh man, and collecting magazines and going to the comic book stores and discovering Famous Monsters or Mad Magazine or Fangoria.
Mhm.
Discovering these things that spoke to me. They
Right.
just spoke to me, right? Like it was just like I gravitated like a moth to a flame. And then yeah, and then I would just always draw. And then in grade 8, the other thing that sort of made me that sort of told me that maybe I should keep doing art was in grade 8, I was never paying attention. I was always drawing. And my homeroom teacher noticed this, and instead of getting angry at me, she said, you know what, Halloween's coming up. Why don't you do some posters for the classroom?
Oh, damn.
And so
Nice.
I've still got like a Freddy and an Evil Dead poster. And literally all I did,
Oh, dang.
all I did was, you know, back in the day, you had your overhead projectors, right, at school. I projected a picture from Fangoria or whatever it was on the projector. I projected that. I basically did a trace on the wall of the drawing, right? Did my little outline, and then then the projector goes away, and then I colored it. I just did it all by hand after that.
Damn, that is sweet.
And that was fun. And you know, the teacher was like, so like, oh yeah, we got it. And I guess all the other kids in the class sort of, you know, they always, I pretty much got, I didn't have, you know, very many enemies. I, you know, like, sure, there was, you know, a couple situations, but like, I was always sort of like, people like that I could draw, you know what I mean? They thought it was cool. And so I thought, well, okay, I guess you know, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to draw, you know, I'm just going to like keep drawing because I love it. And it's you know, people seem to like it. And it's funny because, just real quick, like later on in life, now that I'm working as an illustrator, I'll get like the odd message from somebody way back in my past on Facebook, like, hey man, I remember, you know, back in school you were drawing and I just saw your book, or I saw this thing, or, you know, somebody mentioned, you know, your artwork again, or I saw something, and I'm so glad to see that you're doing it, you know, and that makes me feel good. Because it's sort of like, okay, I guess I always was on this path, but you don't really know how things are going to happen, right, in life. So after, you know, after high school, I went to art school for 2 years. And then I went to graphic design, a college for graphic design and advertising. I did that for another 3 years.
Okay.
And so once you're in college for artwork, that's when my eyes opened and I'm like, okay, I can get into illustration. I can get into graphic design. I can get into packaging. I can get into advertising. I can get into doing artwork for magazines. I can get into artwork for doing labels. And, you know, the like, somebody's got to draw, you know, the beer labels, right? Somebody's got to draw those. You know, so my first professional job after graduating, I went to Conestoga College in Kitchener, sorry. Graduated, went to Toronto, and landed a design job at a really big design firm. And their major clients were like Cadbury and Labatt's Blue and all that stuff.
Oh, damn.
So I got to like help out art directors above me. I was a junior designer, right? Starting at bottom level, doing mock-ups for everybody. You know, I just started low on the totem pole, just like everybody else. And then as you grow as a person and you gain experience with the people around you and your mentors, you just sort of, you know, just kind of get into a rhythm of things. And you know, and then during the same time that I moved to Toronto, I met Rue Morgue.
Yeah.
And,
okay.
that was another fateful day, right?
right. Yeah, that's awesome. Now, you know, as far as, you know, touching on Rue Morgue and your work with horror also, what's been a piece that's been, you know, like that was a project that came on your table and was just difficult as far as, you know, trying to think of, you know, maybe how to piece it together or what you wanted to portray? What's been a, you know, particular piece that comes to mind?
You know, every job can be its own set of challenges. You know, certainly some of the posters that you do with like big studios, they can be, you know, there's a lot of people that need to see things, right? They want to see things in it. So you're basically taking notes from 6 to 8 studio execs and trying to make soup, right? So that can be a challenge. You know, but you know, I mean, I guess other than that, yeah, sure. There have been some particular challenges along the way. But, you know, you just try to do your best under any circumstance and hopefully the end result you're happy with, right?
Yeah,
and
sure.
Most importantly, the client is happy with it, because as long as they're happy, I'm happy. And that's really it, right? I mean, obviously you want to be proud of everything you do. So I try to get the artwork to that place where I'm proud of it too. And you know, you have to be able to work with everybody, you know. You have to be able to work with people that let you do your own thing and just let you go ahead and come up with everything, and they just want to see what you do, which I love doing. And then you have to be able to work with 6 to 8 studio execs that all want to, you know, they have a particular marketing agenda, and you have to hit those notes, right? So you have to be able to do both. And I find that there are challenges within each one. And that's really about it. It's hard to really name a specific thing to answer your question, but anyway, that might give you a little insight.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Now, you know, when a project comes up, like, you know, because you've also done Blu-ray covers, you know, working with Arrow, different companies, do you have a different approach, you know, in mind as far as, you know, working on something like that might be a print or a poster as opposed to a film cover?
Sometimes, I mean, with Arrow, you have to, you know, it's not quite an 18 by 24, and it's not a 24 by 36. It's more of a square rectangle. So you have to always working with the dimensions of the products that you're, like a record is 12 by 12. So, you know, you're always working within those dimensions, or 12 by 24 if you want to spread the cover over. I like to do that a lot. I like to turn it, you know, the main image is here, but then it kind of likes to drift off into the back cover. I like the wraparound kind of vibe. Yeah, really it's, yeah, the size can determine design sometimes, but I find for the most part, it really like, it's all what you get down on the page, no matter what size it is. And it's all the end result, you know. For the longest time, I was doing 18 by 24 size just because I felt it was a comfortable size. And, you know, 24 by 36 and 18 by 24 are probably the best sizes. DVD covers can be, I don't really find it more of a challenge because of size. But I see what you're saying. Certain you know, things have templates, right? You have certain limitations and structures to design within. So
yeah.
With posters, you know, it's pretty straightforward. You just need to come up with a really compelling image. They're large, so you want it to look good. With record designs, I find there's a lot of room, and there's a lot of experimental things you can do with just simply because of the format. You know, you've got the label. You can do some fun things there. You've got the back cover and the front cover. They have to you know, look nice together. Then you've got your interior. So you can really have fun with that, which is a huge piece of art. And sometimes it's intimidating, right? Sometimes it can be intimidating.
Can imagine shit.
Yeah, like it's like, hey, do vinyl for, say, whatever it is, Friday the 13th, and you know, you got to come up with like literally like 6 illustrations. You know, you got to cover, back cover, interior, two labels. Maybe there's an insert. You know, so you got to be really like. You know, you got to be on your game a little bit, but I enjoy that. Like, I love experimenting, and I love, you know, playing around with the formats and the different, you know, it's fun.
Okay. Well, I mean, and we're going to, you know, hitting on Friday the 13th, hitting on extreme detail, just absolutely crazy detail. Let's talk about this bad boy here. Ghoulish, dear Lord. First off, tell me, how did this project come together? 1984, you know, you and Matt, did you guys meet up and, you know, you had the idea of doing a book? How'd this come together? How'd this start?
Well, actually, it came together because a few things. I mean, you know, obviously, like I've always wanted to do, it's always been on the bucket list. I mean, it just, you always have, I wanted to wait for the right time. And so a friend of mine, Dave Alexander, who's the former editor at Rue Morgue, you know, he was doing some projects on the side, some book projects. And he asked me if I wanted to collaborate on a book. And I said, you know what? No problem. It's got to be a Ghoulish Gary book, not a Rue Morgue book. Right.
Oh, okay. Sure.
So, and that's fine. That was great. That worked out great. But that was one of my main stipulations. And then we hooked up with Matthew, because Matthew from 1984 Publishing was, you know, he was already had done a couple of books. He did the Art of Alternative Poster books. He did 2 of them. And I was in those books. He interviewed me years ago, like maybe 2012 kind of thing, for these books. So he was familiar with my work already. So as we were looking for a publisher, I said, hey, why don't we contact Matthew? I mean, he's, you know, I've already worked with this guy. His books are great. Let's go that route. And so we did. We got in contact with him. Dave had arranged to edit the book and also hire April Snellings, who did the interview, which was good. I didn't, you know, I think they wanted a mixture of text and images, right? You know, they wanted to sort of like tell my story, about, I guess how I started the mag, because there's a bit of a story behind, I guess, what I've done. And so, so there was sort of like, let's have, April interview me, which was really cool. And just it felt like a good time in my life. Like, here I am getting interviewed for my own book. You know what I mean? Like, I just felt like that was it meant a lot to me. It meant a lot to me. Anyway,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
And I know April had a great time, and she was a fantastic person to do the interview. She did a great job. And that's how it came together. And Matthew has been amazing to work with. He did all kinds of extras. He's really keen on, making the best presentation, doing fun things that he knows fans will like. He was bringing up stuff like, hey, 3D glasses. And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Like, why would I say no to that stuff?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I just felt like it felt really kind of cool here's a third party that, is putting out my book. Like, this isn't just me doing self-publishing and me self-promoting anymore. This is another company that says, hey, like, you deserve an art book. And, that was nice. And so now that it's out there, it's been really rewarding. It's been a very rewarding experience. There's some more sticks in the fire there. I can't really say too much, but like, the book did great. The second edition's doing really well. And
they're both sold out now, right?
I think there's some left. I think there's some left. The first one sold out within the year, which was awesome. Yeah, and then the second edition, I think there's still some left, but there can't be many left by now. I don't know how many are left, but it's back up on Amazon.
Okay.
So, but eventually that's going to run out, and then we'll probably be talking about whatever's next, right? We'll see. Again, I don't want to release something too soon because I feel like, there are chapters in your life, right? Like there are, like, yeah, it'd be great. I probably have enough to do a second book right now, but you want to wait for the right time,
Let this one breathe a little bit.
Let this one breathe a little bit. Like, it's still getting out there. It's funny because you spend a year on something, it's already old news to you. You release it, it feels old. You spent a year on it. Now's the time people are catching up to it, right? So now as they catch up to it, it's all new for everybody else.
Yeah.
And I'm on to I'm well beyond the next thing, right? But it's cool because, people contact me or they tag me. I love it when people are tagging my book and tag me in my stuff. That tells me that they're out there. Like, I'm not just sitting in a void here, because honestly, it's a pretty, what we do is a pretty, what's the word? Isolated, job. I mean, I'm here by myself. My wife works from home, but I'm upstairs, she's downstairs. I'm isolated. We try to stay in contact with friends and stuff, but you're just sort of working away, hoping that what you're doing is people are going to like, and that it's, you're hoping that you're putting your best foot forward, and you're working with, clients, and you're really sort of trying to do this thing all by yourself. And the fact that I can make a living up in my little studio here, sitting at my drawing desk. I mean, I'm so thankful for that because, what's better? You know what I mean? I started my own company. It was clearly the right thing to do. So, I mean, I'm pretty thankful for, just any opportunity that comes my way, so.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, it's been really cool. It's been really cool and meeting people like you and horror fans. You guys are the people. You guys are my people, right? Like you guys are the ones that I'm trying to impress. Really, I mean, I want you to look at a poster that I did for Reanimator, and I want it to make you feel how you felt when you watch Reanimator.
Yeah.
I want you to look at my, or whatever. You look at a cover for Christine. I want you to know that that's Christine. That is, that's a Christine thing.
Right.
And that it's, and it's not just a still from the movie. It's not just, it's been curated. It's been crafted into an image that will resonate with the fans that love these movies. That's what I'm trying to do.
Hell yeah.
And, various degrees of that, I'm sure, but hey, you put your stuff out there, and all you can do is just hope people like it, and the ones that don't, hey, that's great too. I don't like everything that's out there. I don't expect everyone to, but you know, you meet enough people and enough like-minded people, and it keeps you going, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. It keeps the train on moving, right? For sure, for sure. Let me ask too. So initially, the first copy was a signed copy of the book. It had your Teen Wolf artwork. The repress has this iconic, just absolute badass Jason, Friday the 13th, and then it comes with a Prowler 3D print. Tell me about, why did you choose the Jason cover for the reprint?
We just felt it was a really, really strong image. A side funny story, I was a little hesitant to put it on the cover because of all this litigious stuff that's going on with Friday the 13th right now. So there was a little bit of like, oh, are we allowed? Are we not allowed? I did get permission from Mondo, and I figured that was good enough. So,
nice.
And honestly, I just had it, that poster, that was such a good time doing that poster. And I feel like Friday the 13th fans really grabbed onto it. And it's like, it just kind of makes sense. You want to like, for the cover, you have to put your best foot forward. The Teen Wolf cover was a choice because we felt it was we felt it wasn't scary. We want, when you put a book out, as much as I'd like to put, like martyrs on the cover, you can't sometimes because you want your aunt to buy it for you for Christmas, right?
Right.
You want
people to buy that year.
Right. You want people to buy this thing, so you don't want to put anything too crazy on the cover. So we kept it pretty, like, we felt Teen Wolf was like middle of the road. It's kind of a horror movie, but it's a comedy. It's sort of like, we just felt it was a good enough image for the cover. But I'm really happy with the Friday 13th cover because I really think that speaks more to sort of like I don't know, not to disparage the Teen Wolf cover at all, but I feel like the Friday the 13th just felt a little more, on brand for kind of what I do, and the color combinations are vibrant, and I always try to add a little bit
just
of
pops.
I try to add a little bit of vibrancy to some of the stuff I do, so it just kind of made sense to use that one, and then of course the 3D glasses, tied in with it well too. So
it's such a and what he's referring to is the actual set. If you buy the book, it comes with the print in the back. It's got the set of Jason glasses here. Absolutely sick set. 1984 has been slamming it out of the park. Ghoulish was actually the first book that I got from them. And I did an unboxing on it, like kind of just opening it live. I didn't know really what to expect. I'm just like, Jesus, and for the price of the product that you're getting, they do some absolutely amazing stuff, and I'm loving everything that you're coming out with and the stuff that they've done. So shout out to them. Now, in the book, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna quickly add. Did you see the vinyl records we've been putting out lately?
Oh yeah, those two. I mean, I that can't go without mention. Those are absolutely badass as well. I've got this little bad boy here.
Yeah, again, it was
just a 7.
A fun little project, and Matthew, he's the guy that gets things done, and you ultimately want to work with people that get things done, right? Because you want to get your stuff out there, and so he's just, I think he's killing it too, and he's great to work with. So there's some cool stuff on the horizon, so just keep your eyes out for some more fun stuff with 1984 for sure.
I'm not gonna dig, but I can't wait. Tons of people on here as well, so that's sweet. There's a section in the book. One of the absolute things that I love about this, and kind of I think a lot of horror fans in general, is the behind the scenes stuff. You have sketches, you have early things, from your history in particular. You've got a notebook cover with different characters that you've drawn on and different, logos and things. So let me ask you being a heavy metal fan, a music fan in general, horror fan, if you had to draw 3 horror movie characters and 3 metal band logos right now on a notebook cover, just tell me, what characters and what logos would you draw?
First of all, awesome question, by the way.
Thanks.
It's a tough one, but I always have my go-tos, right? I mean, it's going to be something from the 80s. I mean, it's going to be probably Freddy Krueger, probably Michael Myers, maybe Jaws. I don't know.
Ooh, okay.
Those are kind of my go-tos. Freddy, Jason, Myers. I mean, the three guys that I grew up with. I mean, they were ultimately, as much as I love the classic monsters. You know what? Frankenstein's probably going to be on there too. Boris Karloff. Bela Lugosi. I mean, I love all those. I kind of felt like I grew up in I had a little bit of that 70s TV where they were showing the Universal Monsters stuff. Mm-hmm. And then I had a lot of the 80s, right? I mean, the 80s was my decade. So, you're probably gonna see the usual suspects in terms of the characters. But I was always drawing Gore Zone magazine and Deep Red, Chas Ballin, his stuff I was trying to mimic. Bernie Wrightson, Creepshow. I might draw some Creepshow on there. Huge Romero fan.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And your second question, 3 heavy metal band logos, I would probably be...
Or punk. I know you're a punk guy, too.
Yeah, well, it would probably be the Misfits,
nice.
Kiss, and Alice Cooper.
Hell yes. Awesome. That is so sweet. Alice
right
Cooper
now,
especially, man, even the fact of you working with them, Jesus,
mm-hmm.
Tell me about that experience. How did that come about?
Well, it was through Fright Rags. But, Alice saw the artwork and had to approve it. I didn't have direct contact with him. Okay. But I've had a couple of encounters with him over the years. And working on those T-shirt designs and that poster was awesome. It was just, I want to do it again.
Yeah.
I want to go on the ride again. I want to, because I feel like you get better every time you do something. Mm-hmm. And I feel like, working with, I've got to work with the Misfits. I've got to work with, Alice Cooper, Jack White. I've got to work with a few bands that I admire, and it's always fun. And it's kind of a trip. It's kind of like if you told 12-year-old me, listening to Ozzy or whatever it was in my, my teen years, that I was going to one day somehow create an image that they were going to release, I mean, you just wouldn't have believed it. I mean, right. One of the things that was a major sort of, milestone for me was releasing the Goblin record with 1984.
Oh yeah, God.
For my book, and I was like, okay, I want to keep doing this. It was just such a high. It was just sort of wow, we reached out to Goblin and they said yes. You know what I mean? And it was great. It was just so easy. It wasn't easy, but it just was okay, they said yes. And then we put the art together and then it's off to Got It Grooves Records, who did a great job in Cleveland. And then it's pressed, and then Matthew's sending me pictures every step of the way. And, I'm just I couldn't believe it. I'm wow. So, at some point it's just you just want to keep doing that stuff. So you just got to kind of keep the train going, mm-hmm. and hopefully people are liking what you're putting out.
Yeah. And, yeah. I think they are. I know I am. Fuck.
Well, thanks, man.
So now your horror interest. We talked about, earlier shows and different things. What's an earlier horror movie that you remember as maybe your first watch?
Yeah, that's always a tough one too, because it's like that question. It's what's the first song you heard that you liked?
Sure.
But honestly, a very vivid memory I had was I'd already seen the Universal Monsters stuff when I was really young. Okay. And most of it, not all of it, but the main ones, and loved them because they were so visual, but they weren't scary. They, you might, when you're 4, you're like, ooh, but when you're 6, you're like, I got this. You know what mm-hmm. I mean? For the most part, especially the Universal ones. There's nothing in them that are too crazy. Right. So they were fine. I watched those pretty young and I love them. But the one movie that scared me that I probably saw when I was about 10 or 11 was the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That one wasn't fooling around.
You ain't shitting.
That one I watched with a buddy because I had a friend that we watched horror movie, rented horror movies together, and a couple of us, and we'd all watch him at his place because he was probably the first to have a VHS player. Okay. And so we somehow rented Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I'll never forget, like, we were fucking terrified. Like, we were literally like, holy shit, like, this is, and it was really dark, like you could barely see a thing.
Right.
Because back in the VHS days, right, it looked like it went through the laundry, right? Like, so that's how I watched Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It literally looked like it went through the laundry.
Yeah, same.
And I was just like, man, this is it. I thought it was a documentary. I thought I was because it set it up that way, with the narration at the beginning, and then it just, you're on that ride, right? Right. And it was the first movie where I was like, wow, horror is scary and it's real.
Yeah. Yeah. That's funny that you say that, because I actually, the first time I ever watched it was on VHS. I went over to a buddy's house who had told me about it for months and months, and we watched stuff like Evil Dead 2 and, different things that were a little bit more slapsticky. Yeah. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, literally, I was supposed to stay the night over there with some buddies, have a sleepover and, candy, whatever the fuck. Yeah. I went home sick, like physically sick. It just, my body ached. I puked. It just absolutely disgusted me. And that was another key moment in my life where I was like, oh, I love horror. I'm going back. I got to finish this bastard.
Well, it's funny. Like, it's like, some people puke when they get off a roller coaster, right? But they'll still go back on. Yeah. And I feel like horror is sort of the same way. I do like the thrill. You get me in a real situation. I hate the sight of blood. I don't like operating tables. I don't like the dentist. Yeah. But, but horror movies have always been a real sort of escape for me. And I love it,
Yep, so. Yeah, absolutely. So hitting on that, go ahead.
No, that's it.
So touching on that, tell me about 3 scenes, ever since you started, loving horror and you got, real deep into, digging into, Italian movies and monster movies and all of the sorts. Tell me about 3 scenes in particular that just pushed you beyond your comfort zone.
Yeah, there's a few. I would say, like, I really don't like watching those guinea pig films.
Oh, yeah, no.
You know what I mean? Like, I sound like, I watch them all the time and I don't like it. No, I watched 10 minutes of one of them. And I'm like, this ain't my bag.
No.
And if you're into this stuff, then you need to sit down and have a conversation.
Oh, shit.
So That's guinea funny. Pig, not for me. Yeah, that was really bad. What was there's a I don't really like Gaspar Noé's films.
Oh boy, you're hitting on all of them. Jeez, oh Pete, yeah.
I know that, like, I liked Irreversible. I actually liked that movie. Oh. But obviously the rape scene was really uncomfortable, and but I liked the ingenuity of the movie, the way it was shot backwards. I do respect that. Yeah. But there's some stuff he puts in his films where I'm like, look, dude, like, I had a wet dream last night too. I'm not going to film it and put it out there.
Right.
Right. You know what I mean? And then there was another time I was at Fantasia Film Festival and we watched this short film. And I was with, I think I was with my wife. Nicole came to Montreal with me, and we watched this short film. And I just turned to her and I said, I'm sorry. Like, this is fucked. Like, I'm sorry we're sitting here watching this right now. And she didn't care. She laughed it off. And we all, but working at Rue Morgue, we got to see a lot of stuff, right? Yeah, and a lot of it was like, even there was maybe a couple things that were too much for the editors as well. You know what I mean?
Oh my God. That's
another
funny.
thing that pushes me out of my comfort zone is, I don't even want to tell you what that short film was, because it was absolutely fucking sick. And I'm not even going to repeat what they did in it.
Oh my God.
The other thing that really pushed me out of my comfort zone, but I have the utmost respect for, is toe tag.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. I don't know if I've ever seen it. I know what you're talking about, though.
August Underground.
Yeah,
Underground.
Yep.
So Fred Vogel is a really good friend of mine. Like, we're like really good friends. Okay. But before I met him, and when we saw his movie way back in the day when he sent it to Rue Morgue, I had to leave the room. It was too much. And we pride ourselves on, hey, we can watch we're gore hounds and we can watch, all this violence and it doesn't really affect us or it does, but we can handle it, like you're like, oh yeah, this is okay. I know it's all pretend. And so is August Underground. It's all pretend. Right. But they did it in a certain way. It was presented a certain way that was like, I basically popped in someone's fucking snuff movie, right?
Yeah, right.
And that made me, but again, that's what they're trying to do.
It's the idea behind it, right?
It's the idea behind it. It's, and they took it to a level that no one has done before, or probably even now. I don't think anyone's matched that feeling that I got from August Underground. Mm-hmm. And when you meet Fred, holy shit, he's like a teddy bear. He's like the nicest guy. He's not all like fucked up, Some like there's maybe 1% I've met out there where I wouldn't have a beer with them. You know what I mean? I've met like one or two guys where I like, yeah, your movies are terrible and so are you, basically. Only one out of like all the conventions. But okay. Fred and his movies are two totally separate things. Like they're weird. But that's an artist, right? Like that's someone that can they can separate themselves from what they're doing, right? They look at it like, they're making the art, but they can say, look, like I'm not really into this, but mm-hmm. it's out there, and I want to people kind of need to see the reality, or they're just trying to get their vision out. And that vision may just so happen to be very visceral and very, challenging. And I mean, I feel like, that's not, when you see the Fred Vogel on the movie, that's not the Fred Vogel you meet at all. And now I know that's a general statement, but, you'd expect to meet somebody maybe a little deep or dark. It's like, no, not at all. He's just like, weird. I love Frankenstein. You know what I mean? And he's trying to write, and I love him. Like, I think he's, so to get back to your question, yeah, some things are just I check out of, like, I just don't, I don't need to see the new Gaspar Noé movie because I don't need to see it, Yeah,
for sure.
It's just one of those things, right? I appreciate the artistry behind a lot of things, but Serbian Film maybe was another film that
was what I was just going to touch on. There's just no interest, the things that I read, and I see lots of people on Instagram posting it, and I get that it's extreme and different things, but I feel like there's a certain line where if I hear about that's crossed, or that they start pushing into certain, it's like, I have no interest. And I guess, whatever, if, people like it, that's their own thing, but
yeah, and that's fine. Yeah,
exactly. I have nothing I even want to see.
Yeah, exactly. And like I ended up seeing Serbian Film twice because we watched it when it came into the office years ago, and I was like, holy shit, And then I watched it again because back in the day they had Cinema Cobs in Toronto. Yeah. For Rue Morgus hosting these awesome movie nights, and so they were showing Irreversible. Sorry, no, what we were talking.
Serbian film.
Serbian film, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to watch the movie a second time. I'm going to watch the audience watch the movie, and that was
okay.
Just to see their reaction, and a couple people left. But most people stuck it out, but it was like just shock and awe in the audience. And I literally was like, had my back to the screen and was kind of just, right? God. You know what I mean? Like, look at this shit, man. But again, I guess that's what horror movies are supposed to do, right? I mean, we're signing up for those loops, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes they're challenging. Sometimes they're challenging, for sure. And there are I think we all have our personal tastes, mm-hmm. and we all have our, the things that we find tolerable, and the things that we just don't want anything to do with, right?
Right. Okay.
But I do also find on the other end of the spectrum that horror fans are the most open-minded film people as well.
Yeah. True.
So they're maybe willing to accept something if it's presented a certain way.
Yeah, right.
Like I said, I did like Irreversible because of the way it was shot. It was very presentable.
Yeah, right. And that's the thing too, is like there's uncomfortable scenes, like with Irreversible. The first time I saw it, I just, back in the day, you didn't really have, YouTube or anything. And so I would find different forums where there would be like the most fucked up movies, you know, that are out there, and it'd be August Underground's Mortem, Salo. I don't know. Have you ever seen that one?
No. See, again, it's like, am I in the mood?
Was terrible. Yeah,
right.
No. You're never going to be in the mood.
Yeah, right. And so at one time I should have watched it, because I do feel that as a film junkie, you need to watch some of these films to have an opinion about them.
Yeah.
And there are certain films that I've watched just strictly because like I need to just see what the fuss is all about, right?
Yeah, right.
And a lot of these films, you're like, okay, yeah, that one burned me a little bit, or you're like, yeah, okay, you know, that one got me. And then other times, you know, you might think, oh, what's the big deal? You know, it's not that crazy. There's crazier out there. I mean, we all have that party tape that we pick up and put out, you know,
right.
When friends are over. So, you know, you used to do that. Like, what's the craziest movie you got? You know, and you'd throw on. Maybe for me at one time it was From Beyond, right? Or Reanimator or something. You'd be like, look at this one, right? Or like, you know, or Clockwork Orange is a pretty harsh watch, you know, when you're a certain age as well, right? So, yeah, but, you know, it's all part of the territory, right? You sort of have to, you know, pick what you like and stick with what you like, and once in a while something comes along and you're like, ooh, I don't like that.
Yeah.
Then other things come along where you're like, you know what, that's actually pretty well done, and the way they did it's pretty cool. So
yeah, sure. Okay.
Yeah.
I respect that. That's a good answer. I love it.
Sorry, that was a long answer.
You know, that is perfectly fine. I appreciate it, my man. Hey, we got it back. All right, so this is I'm going to have a finale question. This is your opportunity here, just to, you know, shout out some things, give some people, you know, a couple words of wisdom. Let everybody know what you have going on. This is your moment here, Gary.
Well, thanks to anyone that has bought the book. Thank you to anyone who's following me on Instagram. You can find me at Ghoulish Gary. Please reach out, say hi. I've got tons of stuff in the works. It's been a tough year. Like a lot of stuff has gotten canceled. You know, a lot of the stuff, you know, that I've worked on kind of came to a stop. But with hopes that it gets released when it's time. So there's a lot of stuff in the bank, and I'm working on tons of stuff too. So I wish I could say some of the stuff I'm working on, but we're always, you know, sort of, you know, you sign.
Pinch lips. I think you might be covering the mic.
B-boys last night, so it's
okay.
It's been a foggy morning.
Yeah. Okay. No worries.
Please shout out to, you know, got to give a shout out to my podcast buddies, Eric and Aaron. It's been fun, you know, doing that with them as well. And please follow us, you know, at FMPB_podcast on Instagram. And, you know, just I'm always out there doing stuff. I got lots of stuff to share soon. So I really thank everybody for any attention that you've given my artwork. It's been really amazing, and I can't thank anyone enough. I mean, I wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't for you guys, you know. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I was gonna touch on from my parents' basement a couple other things, but I didn't want to keep, you know, too much more of your time. So we're gonna have to do a part 2, man.
Honestly, yeah, let me know. Let's do it. This has been fun, and yeah, I appreciate the fundraisers like that we've been doing together, and you know, it's, you know, the horror community is just such an amazing community, and I can't wait till conventions come back. And, you know, that's been a major thing that I really miss, because the connection between what I'm doing with the people that like it has been really important to me. And it sucks that, you know, we're not out there, you know, on the road. You know, I feel like, you know, I've been doing conventions for like 10, 15 years, and all of a sudden it stops. And so it's been tough, but at the same time, it's you know, I'm just filling up my time with tons of projects, and I can't wait to show you guys what I got cooking. So.
Yeah, hell yeah, we can't wait. And you know, just really quick, I wasn't gonna, you know, dive deep into it, but, you know, face to face, I wanted to say thank you so much for all your help with you know, the last fundraiser, and even though the one that we have going on right now. I mean, you've, you know, done so much, and it's, you know, I appreciate the fuck out of it, honestly. It's awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, anytime I can help any charity. I mean, my wife and I give to a couple of charities too here on the side, and I'm, you know, if whatever I'm doing can help somebody in any way, I'm down for that. So anytime, man, anytime.
Yeah, awesome. Very cool. All right, so this is the finale. You're mentioning, going and doing, cons and different things like that. So the finale, the name of the finale today is "I Remember Halloween," which
Yes.
obviously that was your first art show, correct?
Yes, it was. Yeah,
All right.
and that was a trip. And I'll tell you, ever since that first art show, um, it's just been like this, right?
Hell yeah, hell yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
I can't complain. It's life could be a lot worse considering the circumstances, and I'm just so thankful for the people that work with me and for the for the audience that is liking this stuff. I really can't thank the horror fans and the people out there that are following me or anything enough. It's really been amazing, and I really appreciate it. And I hope to see you all soon. I hope
Hell yeah.
you can make that connection again, or at least whatever. Follow me online, reach out. I'm pretty good with getting back to people. So yeah, I'm around. So let me know.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. And so for this finale question, I titled it "I Remember Halloween." So this is the breakdown of it. All right. So you and I decided that we're gonna write a graphic novel. Okay. I'm gonna write this story, and I asked you. I said, Gary, look. The story takes place on Halloween night, and we have one protagonist. All right. He's bringing his little kid out Halloween trick or treating. In the midst of this, throughout the night, he has to defeat three villains, three horror movie villains. So in this story, in this graphic novel that we create, you are deciding the one protagonist from any horror movie ever that has to defeat three horror movie villains. What do we got, Gary? What's our story going to be here?
Holy cow! Well, I'm gonna just
we're gonna say male or female.
Well, I'm just gonna say Godzilla, because we don't really, in the storyline of Godzilla, we don't know whether he or she, in one of the movies she laid eggs. So, but I think Godzilla could just stomp anyone.
Okay. Sick. That is sweet. That is awesome. What villains would he have to defeat, or she?
Oh my God! It would be it'd probably be like Godzilla versus Pinhead. I'm just making this shit up, buddy. I really have not.
That's the fun of it, man. That's the fun of it. I love it. We're gonna have Godzilla bringing his little kid or her little kid out trick or treating. They got to defeat Pinhead, his goblin and ghouls.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's one day we're gonna see something like that. I mean, Freddy versus Jason happened, so I mean,
right.
I'm surprised there hasn't been more crazy combos.
Yeah, well, and even in the comic community, they have Marvel Zombies versus Ash, and or the Army of Darkness and different things. So yeah, little mashups like that is all fun shit. So
for sure,
wanted to toss that one out there. And with that, man, that is wrapping up our interview, Gary. Once again, thank you so much for your time. I so appreciate it. Your stuff's amazing. I can't wait to see what you got coming up.
Thanks, buddy. We'll talk soon, okay? Thanks for everyone watching this.
Absolutely. All right. Lo-Fi Horror Guy. Ghoulish Gary Pullin. You guys take care. This will be on YouTube later this week. And have fun. Stay safe, buddy.
Thanks, man. Talk soon.
Yeah. See ya.
He's a lo-fi horror guy. Yeah, he's kind of a guy, but he is so lo-fi horror guy. Yeah. Lo-Fi Horror Guy has been recorded in front of a live studio audience.